A man stumbles through the cold Toronto night, clutching his chest, fear burning in his eyes. He collapses near the steps of Station House No. 4, and with his final breath before slipping into unconsciousness, he whispers a single word that will change everything. Brother. The night is cold enough to make every breath look like smoke, and the streets of Toronto feel strangely empty. A thin fog moves between the gas lamps, stretching shadows across the cobblestone roads. In the distance, the sound of a lone carriage fades, leaving behind a deep silence that feels almost alive. Detective William Murdoch stands outside Station House No. 4, reviewing the last of his notes before calling it a night. He lifts his head when he hears hurried footsteps echoing down the street. At first, it seems like a drunk rushing home before curfew. But as the figure draws closer, Murdoch's instincts sharpen. The man isn't running, he's fighting to stay upright. His coat is torn, his hands trembling, and there's a look of pure terror written across his pale face. The man collapses just a few feet away from Murdoch. The detective drops to one knee, calling for Constable Crabtree to fetch Dr. Ogden at once. The stranger's breathing is shallow, uneven, as if he has been running for miles. Murdoch tries to ask him what happened, who chased him, where he came from. But the man can only manage one broken word. Brother. He whispers, and then he loses consciousness. Dr. Ogden arrives, quick and focused. Her eyes scan the man's wounds, minor scrapes, bruised ribs. Signs of exhaustion, but none fully explain the man's terror. He's frightened, she murmurs, but this is not the look of someone running from a simple fight. Murdoch nods, already piecing together possibilities. A family argument? A crime gone wrong? Something darker? The word brother repeats in his mind like a warning inside the station. Crabtree discovers a small item the man had dropped, a torn scrap of paper. On it, scribbled in rushed handwriting, are two words: find him. No name. No address. No explanation. Just a plea written in panic. Murdoch studies the man again as he's carried into the infirmary. There's a strange weight in the air, the kind that arrives only when something big is about to shift. Something hidden. Something that has been building quietly in the shadows. The detective knows this is not an accident. This is the start of a case that will reach beyond simple clues and suspects. It will touch something deeper: loyalty, blood, and the secrets that bind or break a family. As the station doors close behind them, the camera lingers on the quiet street where the man fell. The wind blows the fog aside for a moment, revealing a long trail of footprints leading into the darkness. As if someone else had been there only moments earlier, someone watching, someone waiting. Morning light spills across Toronto. But it does little to ease the tension inside Station House No. 4. The man who collapsed the night before still has not woken. And Murdoch knows every passing hour is another step into the unknown. The torn note, find him, lies on Murdoch's desk, its edges frayed from being handled again and again. Something about it feels urgent, personal, almost desperate. Crabtree rushes in with an update. Sir, we checked the man's pockets. No identification. But he had soil on his boots, fresh soil. The kind you'd find near the rail yards. Murdoch nods. That part of the city is rough, full of warehouses, quiet alleyways, and secrets that prefer the dark. Murdoch and Crabtree head to the rail yard, where early workers move crates and shovel coal. Thick smoke rises in the air, turning the morning gray. Murdoch studies the ground, kneeling to inspect faint footprints that match the pattern he saw near the station. The tracks lead to an empty warehouse, its door slightly open, creaking in the wind. Inside, the air is cold and still. Dust covers most surfaces, but Murdoch's eyes sharpen when he spots something that breaks the pattern. Two sets of footprints circling the room. A struggle. A chase. Someone ran and someone followed. He steps deeper inside, tapping the floorboards. One of them sounds hollow. Crabtree helps pry it open, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside lies another clue, a torn photograph of two young men standing side by side, arms around each other, smiling as if nothing in the world could ever divide them. On the back, written in fading ink, is a single name, Elias. Murdoch turns the photograph slowly, feeling the weight behind it. "Brothers," he says quietly. "This case started long before last night." As they continue searching, Crabtree notices something odd: scattered pages from a letter, ripped apart as if someone tried to destroy it in a hurry. Murdoch gathers the pieces, fitting them together like a puzzle. The message becomes clear. One brother had been trying to protect the other from someone dangerous. Someone who wanted them both silenced. Before Murdoch can say another word, a soft groan echoes through the warehouse. A shadow shifts in the corner. Murdoch draws closer, careful and alert. There, half hidden behind a stack of crates, lies a second man, bruised, weak, and terrified. His clothes match the men in the photograph. This must be Elias, the missing brother. But before Murdoch can help him, Elias whispers through cracked lips, "You don't understand. He wasn't running from me. We were running from someone else." His voice breaks as he glances toward the door, fear tightening every muscle in his body. And then he adds one final chilling line. "He's still out there. And he wants us both gone." A cold silence fills the warehouse. Murdoch realizes this is no simple family dispute. This is a hunt, a trap. And the real danger has not even shown its face yet. The wind outside the warehouse grows louder, rattling the doors as if the city itself is warning Murdoch to leave. But he stays focused on Elias, who struggles to keep his eyes open. Murdoch kneels beside him, speaking calmly, hoping to keep him conscious long enough to explain what truly happened. Elias's lips tremble, and he tries to sit up, but the pain forces him back down. He said we owed him," Elias whispers. "Said family debts never die." "My brother tried to reason with him, but that only made things worse." Murdoch leans closer. "Who is he? Who are you running from?" Elias's voice cracks. "A man named Corbett. We knew him growing up. He always wanted what we had. Our father trusted him once, but he twisted everything. When our father died, Corbett claimed we owed him money. But he didn't want the money. He wanted control over us, over everything." Murdoch absorbs the words carefully. A man driven by jealousy. A man who watched two brothers build a life he believed he deserved. A grudge like that can grow sharp enough to cut through any family bond. Before Murdoch can ask more, footsteps echo outside the warehouse, slow, deliberate, confident. Crabtree pulls his revolver. Murdoch gestures for him to stay low. The footsteps stop right outside the door, and for a moment, the world feels completely still. Then the door creaks open. A silhouette appears, tall, steady, and disturbingly calm. The man steps inside without fear, as if he already knows the building is his. His eyes lock on Elias first, then shift to Murdoch. "Cold and unbothered, Detective Murdoch," the man says smoothly, tipping his hat. "I was hoping you'd stay out of this. Family matters can be complicated." Murdoch recognizes him instantly from descriptions. Corbett. Murdoch stands, posture firm, but composed. "You're hunting them? Why? What do you gain from harming these brothers?" Corbett's lips curl into a thin smile. "What I'm owed? Their father took everything from me. When he died, his sons pretended they could hide his betrayal. They ran. But you can't outrun your past." Elias tries to speak, but Corbett silences him with a deadly glare. "Your father promised me a share of his land," he continues. "Said he'd make me part of the family. But he never did. He left me with nothing while his sons inherited everything." Murdoch steps forward, voice steady. "Promises are not ownership. You cannot claim something that was never legally yours." Corbett shrugs. "Legal or not, I made myself a promise. If I couldn't have their family, then neither could they." The room grows colder. Crabtree edges closer, ready to intervene, but Corbett raises a small pistol with lightning speed. Aiming it directly at Elias, Elias flinches, fear ripping across his face. "Move," Corbett warns Murdoch. "And I end this now." For a fraction of a second, Murdoch reads the room, the distance, the angle, the slight tremble in Corbett's fingers. He sees the madness in the man's eyes, a mix of old wounds and burning envy. This is no simple criminal. This is someone who has been feeding on bitterness for years. Murdoch speaks softly, trying to steady the situation. You've carried this anger for too long. Whatever you felt was taken from you, violence won't give it back. Corbett laughs, a short, sharp sound. Oh, detective. It already has. He steps closer to Elias, forcing the barrel of the gun under his chin. Elias squeezes his eyes shut. Panic flashes across Crabtree's face. Murdoch's hand hovers near his own weapon, timing the moment, waiting for the slightest opening, but before he can act, a sudden voice breaks through the tension. Stop! Everyone turns. Standing in the doorway is the first man, the one who collapsed near the station. He's weak, unsteady, but awake. His voice shakes, yet he stands tall enough to get Corbett's attention. Corbett. If you want to hurt someone, he says, breathing hard, hurt me. I'm the one who convinced our father not to trust you. I'm the one who said you were dangerous. Not Elias, me. Corbett looks stunned, then furious. His hand trembles, lowering the gun from Elias and swinging toward the older brother. Murdoch sees the moment. A split-second opening. Murdoch sees the moment. A split-second opening, he lunges, a shot fires. The sound explodes through the warehouse, sending birds scattering from the rafters. Corbett stumbles as Murdoch tackles him, the gun skidding across the floor. Crabtree rushes in, pinning Corbett's wrists. Elias crawls toward his brother. Terrified of what he'll find, smoke fades, silence follows. Murdoch rises slowly, breathing hard. Corbett is restrained, still seething with resentment. Elias reaches his brother, checking for wounds. And relief floods his face when he sees the bullet graze the wall, missing both of them, but the emotional wound, the one shaped by years of regret and fear, remains deep. As Corbett is dragged away, he screams, "You had everything. Everything! And you ruined me." But his words no longer hold power. The brothers hold on to each other, trembling, alive, and finally telling the truth. Murdoch watches quietly, knowing the hardest part of the mystery is no longer the crime, it's the weight the brothers now carry. Their past, their choices, their guilt, and the truth that almost destroyed them. The warehouse is quiet now. Corbett has been taken into custody, his furious shouts fading into the distance. What remains is the heavy stillness that always follows danger when everyone finally breathes, but the fear still lingers in the air. Murdoch stands near the doorway, watching as the two brothers sit together on the floor, bruised and shaken but alive. Elias leans back against a crate, pressing a cloth to his bruised shoulder. Beside him, his older brother, still pale from his earlier collapse, keeps his hand on Elias's arm, as if afraid that letting go might make this nightmare start all over again. The silence between them is not empty. It is full of years of unspoken words, regrets, and choices that now feel heavier than ever. Murdoch approaches carefully. You're safe now, he says gently. Corbett won't hurt you again. The older brother, Samuel, nods faintly. His voice is hoarse when he finally speaks. Detective, we didn't mean for any of this to happen. We thought if we ran, we could leave the past behind. But it kept catching up. Elias lowers his eyes. We should have come forward earlier. We should have trusted someone. Samuel turns to him, guilt clouding his expression. No, I should have protected you better. I told myself I was the strong one, the responsible one. But the truth is, I dragged us deeper into trouble because I was ashamed to admit how scared I was. Elias looks at him, surprised. You were scared? Samuel swallows hard. Terrified. His voice cracks. But I didn't want you to see that. I thought, if I pretended everything was fine, maybe you'd believe it too. For a moment, Elias says nothing. Then he gives a small, gentle smile. I never needed you to be perfect, he whispers. I just needed you to be honest. Samuel bows his head, eyes filled with tears he has been holding back for far too long. Murdoch steps aside, giving the brothers room to breathe, but he watches them with a quiet understanding. He knows what it means for family bonds to stretch and strain under pressure. He knows the wounds left behind by choices made in fear and love. Detective William Murdoch has seen cases solved by logic, but he's also learned that the human heart has its own mysteries, messier. Deeper and harder to untangle. As Constable Crabtree returns with blankets, he gently hands them to the brothers. "You'll both need a doctor to look over you," he says softly. "There's no shame in resting after a storm like this." Elias wraps the blanket around his shoulders. "Thank you," he murmurs. Samuel does the same, letting out a long, shaky breath as warmth settles over him. Outside, the sun has begun to set, painting the sky with soft strokes of orange and blue. The rails shimmer in the fading light, and the city seems to exhale, as if relieved that another tragedy has been avoided. But Murdoch knows that justice doesn't end with an arrest. It stretches further into families, into memories, into the places where pain hides. Samuel looks up at Murdoch, voice steadier. "Detective, will we face charges for running? For hiding?" Murdoch considers the question carefully. "Your actions will be reviewed, but the truth matters. You were not running from justice, you were running from fear. That holds weight." He pauses. "What matters now is that you stop running. You face what comes together." Samuel nods slowly, accepting the truth in Murdoch's words. Elias places a hand on his brother's shoulder. "We'll stay," he says. "We'll do this right." Murdoch gives a single, reassuring nod. It is not a promise of an easy path, but it is a promise of fairness. As Murdoch and Crabtree guide the brothers out of the warehouse, the camera lingers on their silhouettes, two figures leaning on each other, walking step by step toward a future that is uncertain but shared. The streets are quiet again as Station House No. 4 comes into view. Lamps glow softly against the growing dusk. Samuel and Elias pause before stepping inside, as if crossing a threshold not just into the station, but into the next chapter of their lives. Murdoch watches them, his expression thoughtful. Cases often end with answers, but this one ends with something far more fragile. Healing. In a low voice, the narrator offers the final reflection. Brotherhood is not made by shared blood alone. It is made by choices, by sacrifices, by the battles fought in silence. Some bonds may bend under pressure. Some may even break, but the heart remembers. And when truth finally finds its way into the light, even the darkest secrets lose their power to divide. The doors of the station close gently behind the brothers. Toronto settles into the night. Once more. And Murdoch walks forward, knowing that while one mystery has ended, the story of brotherhood will continue long after the case file is closed.